I wanted to find out if there are any good New York City foods in Washington, D.C. So I invited Megan, a licensed New York City tour guide and host of the YouTube channel, The Megan Daily, to join me for this task. So we are going to try the 4 New York City food groups, which are...
We have pizza, bagels, hot dogs, and cheesecake, the 4 main New York City food groups.
So before we get out and start tasting food, make sure to subscribe to this channel and to the Megan Daily so that you can keep up with Washington, D.C. and New York City.
Rob has set up a difficult task for himself. I am a huge foodie in New York City. I love New York City food. I don't know if Washington, D.C. can compete.
But I did pick out 4 places that I think have very good options from those 4 food groups. So we'll see how they stack up.
I'm hungry.
Let's go try them out.
Rob has told me that this really beautiful pink building across the way, which is a shop called Call Your Mother, is one of the best, if not the best, bagel in Washington, D.C. So we're gonna go in and see how it compares to a New York City bagel.
I feel like you know it's gonna be good when they have the infrastructure to handle a line, because they know a lot of people are gonna be lining up for bagels.
Oh, it smells really good. I do want to give an initial reaction right here because actually before we even walked in, just walking up the street, you could smell the amazing smell of the bagels. And I'm here in this really pretty bagel shop and it smells so good. I can't wait for our bagels to be ready. We're here on the Georgetown University campus. We have our bagels. The bagels are warm. The bench is so cold and icy that like the snow is not even moving. So I'm sitting on snow. So we got a plain bagel and an everything bagel with cream cheese. They both have cream cheese. Okay, so this is the everything bagel. This looks good. This looks really, really good. The toppings look on par with an everything bagel.
How do you judge? Is it the distribution of the toppings? How do you visually judge the bagel here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I was just in Maine and I had an everything bagel that had oregano on it and I thought that was pretty weird. So this looks like normal toppings on an everything bagel and I'm gonna break this in half. So typically bagels are boiled in water. And the legend is that what makes a New York City bagel like so great is New York City water, which has special minerals in it because of the pipes that bring the water to our faucets. And that minerals gives the bagels a really fabulous texture. But just feeling this feels like it has a really good texture. It has that kind of boiled crust and a lot of give. And I'll warn you, I'm really bad at looking cute when I eat. I'm not that kind of a YouTuber, but I'm gonna give this a bite. I have high hopes for this. Oh. This is excellent. I hate to betray my city, but this everything bagel could hold up to everything bagel in New York.
Now, one thing I'll comment on is, I don't know how you do it in New York City, but I often find that when I get cream cheese on the bagel from the bagel place, they put a lot, like way more than I really want. And so when I get bagels, I typically get them takeout and then I apply my own cream cheese at home so I can get exactly as much as I want. But I actually think this is a pretty good ratio of bagel to cream cheese. So we'll see. Wow. This is legit. I don't know New York City bagels, but this is good. Okay, now my understanding is that when you judge a bagel, especially in New York City, you should always order it untoasted.
Yes. This is a fight amongst people because there are people like myself who are kind of bad New Yorkers and like our toasted bagels. But because these bagel companies work so hard on getting the texture of the bagel just right, if you toast it, it changes the entire texture of the bagel. So it's almost like an insult to the bagel baker. So we got a plain bagel. We thought it would be good control. My usual go-to order is the everything bagel, but we got a plain bagel for this to be the control, and we will taste that. Just a little bit about bagels. Bagels essentially came to the United States through New York when we had a huge influx of Jewish immigrants who were bringing their foods to New York City. So the bagel is basically a rounded piece of bread that is boiled in water, and they used to actually sell them on sticks. They would put the bagel with the hole in the center through the sticks and walk around town selling their bagels. You can also in New York get something called a bialy, which looks a lot like a bagel, but it's baked instead of boiled, and instead of having a hole in the middle, there's like a little indentation where they can fill it up with really anything they want. It's usually something like onion. So here we go. We're going to taste the plain bagel. Again, I'm not a pretty eater. Live with it. Oh. The first thing that I noticed is there's a sweetness to this dough, which I really like. The everything bagel had a lot of toppings, so it kind of covered up the sweetness. There's a really nice sweetness to this dough. I don't know what they're doing at Call Your Mother. I don't know if they stole New York City's secrets, but these are competitive with New York bagels. And now I'm going to have to hide so the New Yorkers don't come and kill me while I eat this bagel. One of the most New York Cityest food, is that a word, cityest? One of the most New York Cityest foods that I could think of is a hot dog. I especially love hot dog in the summer. I'll go out to Coney Island in New York City, get a famous Nathan's hot dog, sit by the beach. It's so amazing. Rob has promised me that Switzerland back here has awesome hot dogs as well that can compete with famous Nathan's hot dogs. We're gonna go find out.
Now, when Megan told me the 4 food groups of New York City, I had the hardest time choosing a place to get the hot dog because I don't typically get a hot dog when I am choosing something to eat in DC. Now, we do have the half smoke. The half smoke is a very quintessential DC food, but to me, a half smoke is a sausage and it's too different from the New York City hot dog. So that's why I chose Swizzler here, but truth be told, when I come to Swizzler, I almost always get the burger or the veggie burger. I very rarely get the hot dog, so this one's gonna be new for me too.
So this is the Bernie Mac, I believe was what the hot dog was called. It has, oh my God. It has macaroni and cheese on it and other delicious toppings. I forget if it has bacon. This hot dog looks really good. My mouth is watering just looking at it. The outside seems perfectly charred and the inside just looks juicy. Oh my goodness. Okay. This is the classic. Oh, now see, we're gonna get to actually look at the hot dog here. This one, if I can open it, this is the classic hot dog. I've never seen a hot dog kind of spiralized like this, but it looks really promising. So this is my standard order, which is a regular hot dog with a little bit of ketchup and a little bit of mustard. That's how I roll. I don't know how you roll. Let me know how you like your hot dog in the comments below, or let Rob know how you like your hot dog in the comments below. And then, because I am gluttonous, we got French fries. You can always get French fries with your hot dog in New York, but it's not a typical New York thing with some Swizz sauce, which is definitely not a New York thing, but it's there.
This is described as a corkscrew cut, and the idea, I think, is that you get maximum surface area on the hot dog. I'm not entirely sure how that works. Like I said, I'm not really a hot dog connoisseur at restaurants. If I make hot dogs, it's at home, on the grill, at a cookout, something like that. So I'm really curious to see how this turns out.
Also, apparently this is a pretzel bun. It looks kind of like a regular bun, but it does feel like it has a little give to it. So we're gonna find out. Again, I'm not gonna look cute eating this. Live with it. Okay, so it's very different. It's very different than a Nathan's hot dog, which is my normal go-to in New York. First of all, it is kind of more of a pretzel-y bun. So the bun gets a lot of attention in this hot dog. It's very front and center, whereas I feel like it's more just something to hold the hot dog on the Nathan's hot dog. The spices in this hot dog are really good. I never really think about hot dog spices, but I tasted, again, I'm not like a Top Chef judge, but I thought I tasted some like pepper in it, and it was really, really flavorful. So I like this hot dog. I think it's hard to compare it to a Nathan's hot dog because it's so different, but I definitely like it, and I'm excited to shove the hot dog in my face.
Now, when I think of a Nathan's hot dog, I'm sorry, Megan, I think of the packaged meat section at the supermarket because that's where I buy Nathan's hot dogs. So my experience with them is not the same as going to the actual Nathan's in Coney Island, but I'm gonna give this hot dog a try and see how it stacks up to my supermarket hot dogs. So I'll put it in the context of what I do know a hot dog, and that's a baseball game. If I went to a Nationals game and I got this hot dog, I would be very happy with my purchase. So is it like a hot dog in Coney Island? I don't know. Is it better than the hot dogs I typically get at baseball games? Yes, 100%.
Can the Cake Room compete with my two favorite cheesecakes in New York City, Eileen's Cheesecake and Junior's Cheesecake? Rob thinks that they can, but we're gonna find out. There's a long line. That's good news. I shouldn't say long line, but there's people waiting for the cheesecake, so that's good news. It smells really good.
Okay, so after further consideration, we decided we're going to go for the strawberry cheesecake, which is going to give us the best chance to compare this to what Megan knows from New York City.
I'm going to open it up. It's super pretty. It's really pretty. In terms of size, so my two favorite cheesecakes, I have Eileen's cheesecake, which usually comes in like these kind of small circles. You get your own personal cheesecake. So this is a little bit bigger than that, but it's a little bit smaller than Junior's. And it looks, I was trying to figure out like what are the great qualities of a cheesecake. And I kind of like mine to be like a little fluffier. And it looks like this one has the potential to be a little fluffy. There's a good amount of topping, and it looks like there's that beautiful, yummy, traditional graham cracker crust. So let's see how it tastes. Okay, here's a close-up of the bite. It's very good. It's very, very good. I don't want to say anything other than it's very, very good. But I think New York has it on this one.
I have to admit, I don't order cheesecake generally, and so I'm not a great judge of this cheesecake against any other cheesecake. It's delicious. However, when we walked into the cake room, the first thing that my eye went to was the actual cake. They have regular cake, they have cupcakes, and then they have cheesecake. And so if I were going in for a snack or a dessert, I would not have picked the cheesecake over some of the other options that are in the cake room. So I'm not a great judge of this. Really good, but if Megan thinks that it's not as good as her favorite in New York, I gotta trust her judgment on that.
This one's very good. And if you come to Washington, D.C., definitely, like I would say, come here. It's a good choice, but if it's between New York and D.C., I'm gonna give cheesecake to New York. I am super excited about this stop because we are getting pizza, and I love pizza. Now, New York City, we're very, very proud of our pizza. A traditional New York City style pizza is pizza that's made in a coal-burning oven. I don't know what this pizza is going to be made in. I do not know if it's going to be made in a coal-burning oven, but it doesn't matter. I've had good pizza made in a coal-burning oven, in a wood-burning oven, and in a gas oven in New York City, and I have loved them all. So let's see. I hear that this one's won some pretty major awards, but can it impress me?
Now, just for some context, there are a lot of pizza places in Washington, D.C., and in my humble opinion, there are many, many very good ones. But the reason why I chose Andy's specifically is because over the summer I saw an article that said that Andy's Pizza had won the best cheese slice at the International Pizza Expo and Conference in Las Vegas. And I don't know who else was competing, but to win the best cheese slice in the entire country, that seemed like a pretty good deal. So I thought that Andy's might give New York City a run for its money.
So it looks like their pizza is made in the gas oven. So it's not the traditional New York way, but it's made similar to the New York dollar slice. Here we have a slice of Andy's Pizza. Upon further inspection, this pizza was made in a gas burning oven. So I'm going to compare this to the what in New York City is known as the dollar slice, which are made in gas burning ovens. Gas ovens. Now you can get a dollar slice for $1, but the typical New York City rule is that it costs a single ride on a subway. So that's $2.75 currently. I was told that this slice cost $4, which is
$3.99.
$3.99. This is a little bit smaller than you would typically see a dollar slice, so it better be like really good to justify that extra cost. Again, I'm not a food vlogger influencer. I'm gonna look horrible as I bite this. Okay, it's actually really good. It's actually really, really good. I have to say, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting it to taste this good. I was being very judgy. But this pizza is really good, especially if I'm doing the dollar slice measurement.
Now, I'm not a New Yorker, but I did go to New York City in 2021, and I took a Scott's Pizza tour, highly recommended, and I learned some very important things about New York City style pizza on that Scott's Pizza tour. The guide told us that when you're judging pizza, you should always use the plain cheese to judge, because otherwise places might have toppings of different quality, or you might just not like a certain topping, or you might love a certain topping. So this is why we got the plain cheese. And I also learned on that tour that when you're eating pizza on a street in New York City, they often will serve it to you on a paper plate, and then you can kind of twist the plate together and make a little pizza pocket that you can put your pizza in. But we did not get a paper plate, we got a paper box, and so it doesn't really work for that purpose. And I agree, this is smaller than some of those slices I had, but I will fold it like this. I think that's how some people eat it. And yeah, it's like very well balanced. I've always been fascinated by the concept of a dollar slice, because from an economics or a small business perspective, it doesn't really make sense how you could have a business like that and still be profitable. And I suspect that they're profitable because they might not use the highest quality ingredients. They might put less sauce on than if you were making a full price pizza. But I feel like the balance here is good, and they can get away with that because they charge more. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's good, actually.
All right, I folded my pizza. It's so good. The only critique I have is that it costs $4 for a relatively small slice. To me, that's an awful lot of money to spend on a single slice of pizza. But it is really, really delicious, so that might outweigh it. Is it better than New York pizza? I mean, it's at least on par with New York City pizza. If it's not better, it's at least on par with my favorite dollar slices. So good. It's a winner.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Megan, does Washington, D.C. have any good New York City foods?
They definitely have good New York City foods. I would say that all 4 foods that we tasted are worth eating. They're all good. In terms of being able to compete with my favorite equivalents in New York City, the bagels and the pizza were really stellar. Like, those stood out. That pizza was really, really good. Andy's Pizza, right?
Andy's Pizza.
Andy's Pizza. You even said, like, after we ordered it, you said, I feel like this one's gonna lose. And then It was so good.
It was so good.
Like, we're still talking about how good that one was. And the bagels were really, really great. The cheesecake, I think it would be really great to go to that bakery and get like their cupcakes. They had a really delicious chocolate cake. It was like a really delicious looking chocolate cake. And their cheesecake was good, but I prefer my New York cheesecakes. And the hot dog was really, really good. It was very different than a New York City hot dog, so I can't really say whether or not it was better, but all four, like, you did a good job.
And in the meantime, if you aren't already, make sure you're subscribed to Trip Hacks DC and the Megan Daily so that you get plenty of Washington, D.C. and New York City content.
Thank you so much for watching my Washington, D.C. food odyssey. Thank you, Rob, for putting in the time and effort to research the food, to test the food, and to introduce me to all of these wonderful New York City foods in D.C.
Enjoy your trip.